Hello. Today I wanted to go through an application that I've been working on that I'm really excited about that is built for the Microsoft Dynamics AX 2012 as well as the 365 for Finance and Operations environments. And what it allows you to do is to look at the table associations between two separate tables within the application. If you are a sysadmin or a report writer and you have tried to do this in the past, you know this can be a very manual process. And so this application helps build a more automated solution for that. This idea all started from the Dynamics AX 2012 ERD, or Entity Relation Diagram, that Microsoft released way back in AX 2012. And they actually have stopped supporting this application or solution, and so have released it as a free GitHub tool to allow others to actually host this solution. And so that's what I actually do on my website. And so I utilize this quite a bit when I'm going through and building reports. But what it really is, it allows you to go in and actually, if we jump in here, just look at a sample page here, it allows you to see a parent table and the association to a child table in this case, right? So we have a number of different files that all have this type of information, and you can see that it would be a very manual process to get from the parent to a child, especially if you have multiple steps along the way. And so that's what where the idea for this application came from in my case. So if we look at the source code behind this, actually, we can actually go in and see the data for this is actually stored in a HTML table behind the scenes, and we can go through, and it's unstructured data, but it's a fairly consistent pattern in how it's actually stored. So the first step to this was to actually look through all of the files that contain this data and to pull out the necessary information from this. So what I found was that all of the files that contained this sort of relation all started with the prefix FKY for foreign key. So if we look at the actual ERD application download that you get from Microsoft, you can see that there are quite a few different FKY files in here. So what we would have to do is basically go through all of these files and pull out the necessary data from these. So that was the first step in this process. And so that allowed me to actually create two separate files and put them into a more structured format for me to consume later on. So these files actually ended up being this tables.json file and the table field association JSON file here. So the tables file allowed me to just get a unique listing of the tables that were in that ERD. And the table field association is actually where we're able to store or gather that information just from the parent to the child objects. So if we jump back into, if I actually pull this information over here, we can see that this parent to child, or the table field associations, actually contains this exact information here. So you can see this account BR rec ID from the parent actually goes to the account location, account logistics location BR accountant file, field, right? So we can actually see that this JSON file actually does include, data from these, right? So we're able to pull those out. So once I had these two JSON files, the next step was to actually build out an application to consume these two files and to actually then go through and perform the necessary business logic to actually find the associations. So the hardest part about this, once I started building this, was actually coming up with the logic for the recursive file, right? That's basically what I came up to, was that you had to have some recursive function to actually go in and do all these searches for you, right? Because you're never going to be able to go in and write the individual layer searches that way. So that took quite a bit of time to actually figure that out. But at the end of the day, I was able to come up and with a solution that looks like this. So you basically give it a initial table that you want to start from, and then a destination table that you want to get to, and then you can select the number of layers to search, right? And so what this is going to do is the number, you can think of this as the number of hops that you would take to get from your initial table to your destination table. So 2 hops would be joining directly from the CUS table to the logistics postal address table in this case. So we go ahead and find the solutions here. You can see that we're able to, in a fairly quick manner, come in and actually be able to see all the different combinations that the CUS table is actually able to join to the logistics postal address table. And so the way the results or the solution coming back here is presented is that you can read left to right and then top to bottom for each solution. All right, so there are multiple solutions here. They're delineated by these double tick marks here. But you can see that we start the CUS table in this case. If you go to account num, we then join to the bank check table in this case, go to receipt account num. We go from bank check table to the remittance address and that joins to logistics postal address rec ID, right? So we're able to get from CUS table to the logistics postal address in that way, right? So that's just one solution. You can see we have a number of other different solutions here as well as we scroll through this, right? Because there are a number of different ways to get from the CUS table to the logistics postal address table, right? Which is one of the reasons why I use it as an example here, right? But we're able to see that there are quite a few solutions here. But what if I, have to get to another table in between an intermediary table, right? This is where you can bump this up to look for additional layers in between, that you would like to go. So if we bump it up to 3, now the number of combinations that we're searching, we're looking for anything that allows us to get, again, all the solutions from level 2. But now we're looking for, are there any solutions where you can go 3 hops, where you can go to 2 intermediary tables between the start and the end in that case, right? And so you can see the the length of time it's taking to analyze this is a little bit longer because it's having to go through and utilize or do more comparisons and look at more search trees, right, to get to the actual solution. So once you get your results, you can see that we still have all of the same information we were getting when we searched for 2 layers, but if we scroll down now, you can see that we're also getting solutions where there are multiple intermediary steps. So not only are we having 1 table in between, but 2 tables in between, right? So you can see that there are quite a few different options here that we're able to actually produce from this. So hopefully this will help you come up and be able to solve the different table relations and how they interact with each other. Hopefully this is a little bit more automated solution than trying to manually figure this out. Let me know your feedback. If you have any features or functionality you're looking to add, absolutely would love to hear those. I know that I have a couple features that I would like to add, things like exporting the solutions to Excel, CSV, and JSON formats, as well as being able to actually put in intermediary tables that you would like to hit. So those are both things that I would like to see adding in the future. But if you have other feedback or functionality you'd like to see, would be happy to hear that as well. So hopefully you find this useful. Thanks for joining today.